2, live.
You're now watching two old farts making noises.
Well, here we go. It's the man that promises you nothing and delivers. It's the veritable man motor mouth. It's Road Woods who feels the need to call himself Rob Vega. It somehow makes him feel important. Anyway, do have a listen and try not to throw up.
And we're live.
Can I answer my question that was posed in there? Why he calls himself Rob Vega?
Please.
Okay. Yeah. So I was actually born Roald Vega. That's what I was born. But it wasn't spelled V-E-G-A. It was spelled W-E-G-E, which no one could pronounce. But it was Vega. It's the same. It's Roald Vega. Roald Vega. But then when I started on radio, they said, what is this rolled crap? You can't, that's not going to work. So they popped my name up on a board and they wrote it out, Roald, great Norwegian name, very cool name, which I'm happy with. And they said, right, what if we take the L out? How do you feel about Rod? And I went, I'm not a Rod. How about Rob? Okay, Rob it is. And let's respell your surname because it's, what is this? What is all these W's? Let's just spell it phonetically, which is Vega. And that's why Rob Vega came about. I personally... My mum's maiden name, which I later, because my parents split up, I then had my name was changed to Woods, which is my mum's name. And that's why I'm Roald Woods, and that's why I'm Rob Vega. So I'm not really Rob Vega.
The nice thing is, so you have dual personality and schizophrenic in some ways, so that's good. I like it.
I think it's multiple. Two personalities is bipolar.
Yeah, it's coming from the clown.
Depending on the mood.
Yeah, okay. And the nice thing is she went to work today like this, so there you go.
Great job.
So Mr. Vega, aka Mr. Woods, aka the Euro African. By the way, the racist show, for the people that haven't seen it, with the brown car guy, Mr. Woods, myself, and David, and Riz, came out the other day, and that is very good. And there's a thing in there about Chris Rock being Jewish, which I didn't know, but he's Jewish apparently. So there's a whole thing. So that's awesome. That was a good show.
Yeah, we're waiting for the lawsuit, Stephen. That's
the lawsuit will be here shortly. And good, like Joan Rivers used to say, and W.C. Fields and Groucho Marx, no publicity is bad publicity. And
yeah, what did she also say to it? Can we talk? Can we talk here?
Can we talk here? Can we talk? Yeah. Yep.
Joan Rivers. Oh my goodness.
She was Jewish, by the way.
No kidding. Really?
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Wow. Yeah. I had no idea.
Well, you didn't know Chris Rock was Jewish, so I'm just letting you know now all the Jews that you're unaware of.
Is that for real? We're not taking the piss here? He really is.
I have no idea. I don't know. I doubt he could be. I don't know. But I mean, like we said, Dave Chappelle. I don't think Dave Chappelle is Jewish either. We just said that on the show for fun.
Snap him into sensibility. What? Sorry.
Yeah. Let's just wait for the letter to come from the lawyers, and then we can discuss whether or not Mr. Rock.
Mr. Rock is Jewish or not.
He might even be called Rock. He might be Christopher Rockefeller.
There you go.
Yeah,
could be a Jewish name.
They're Jewish. Yeah,
I know. I know.
Like I said, I have the file behind me, so we're good. Anyway, so what would you like to talk about today? Because you are ready. You are like you're the
all right. Show. I mean, we might not stay with us. We can bring something else up. But as I said to you when we started, it's been a hell of a week for me down here. We've had a friend of mine pass away at the radio station, and it's been crazy. So not a lot of thought has gone into what I'm going to talk, what I thought to bring, but this is what I thought of as we were discussing. Right. Why is it? I know it's not true for you, Stephen, and a lot of Americans have traveled, and does not apply to them. But what I do find interesting, and it's not a criticism, it's just an observation. When I lived in the US, I was quite astonished how little a lot of the people in the US knew about the rest of the world. I know why they like that, because everything is kind of there. But there still seems to be, and you have access to the largest reserves of information. Everybody's got internet access. There's things called libraries. You can, and everybody talks. So there's no question that people don't have access to information from around the world. But why is it? Why? It just seems like nobody really knows. And the reason I bring it up is we down here in the bottom of Africa, we know tons about America. We know tons about Europe. We just do. We're like the little kid, the grade 2 kid that knows about the grade 10 kids. But the funny thing is the kids in grade 10 and 11 and 12, they know nothing about the kids in grade 2. And it's kind of strange how I know why the people in the States don't need to know about the rest of the world, I suppose. But it's interesting that they just don't know. I'm not generalizing. I'm not saying you, Steve. I'm not saying people who travel, who are connected to the world. But there seems to be a lot of people. You can go into small villages in Africa or this country, for instance, and talk to people, and they'll know stuff about America. They'll know where the cities are. They know about programming. And they might even be uneducated, lack formal education, but they know stuff about the States. You could be in a boardroom with some hotshot in America who's got his company, and he doesn't know anything about Africa. I'm just is it good, bad? I'm just throwing it into the.
Here's what I think. Here's what I think.
If it's true, maybe I'm
no, I think it's 100% true. I can't tell if the clown is with us or if it's a still picture. Okay. So this is going to be, everybody who's afraid of, this is their worst nightmare on this here. Let's just do this before I answer this question for the people that are afraid of clowns. There you go. Okay, kids, now you'll have your nightmare. So I think it's the problem in America is that we are this developed country, so to speak, right? And when you grow up here, you're told how wonderful and great you are. And pretty much the rest of the world is just shit. Full stop, crap, like never, right? Done. When I grew up, we were lucky because everybody knows. I was raised in New York City. So when we grew up there, what happened was you had people from around the world. So you learned because you were just sitting next to some kid that was from wherever. It'd be like, oh, you weren't born in New York, or you weren't born in America. Where were you born? I was born in France, wherever it is, and you learned. Then as I got older, I traveled. But most people in certain states, let's just say anything, doesn't have an N in front of it. Most of the people just think that America is God's gift because that's the crap they've been fed, and we're democracy and we're this, and they don't really take the time to learn. I'm not saying, I'm sure 50% of the population is like that. The other 50% is like me, that you learn, you travel, and it's just cool. And you read international things, so you know. But most people, if you ask them what's going on anywhere outside of probably their city, they can't tell you, because most of them don't read. They get TikTok. If they're looking at TikTok or Instagram or the rest of the crap, they're looking at these challenges, like the grapefruit challenge now or something like that. The grapefruit challenge. So I think the clown is going to speak.
Yes, actually, me who is an outsider and living here for the last about 16 years. One thing that I found is that here the pursuits are much more different, in the sense that Americans have a very strong pursuit of career and achievement, but in the realm of what they taught to be good at from a very early age. And that's not something really that we emphasize, at least in Europe. We have the real pursuit of happiness and the small things of life that you for that need to travel grounds and hills and mountains and smells and deliciousness from all the land. Whereas here, it's the success in this American wondrous country that God gave them. So it's just two very different life goals and life mindsets that I found in the end very limiting in this country, because by believing that you need to achieve something that is taught and anchored from a very early age in your mind, is then just building a whole wall around you. And actually, literally, in real estate, once you go to school, and then you have the debt, and then the Labrador, and then the house, and then here you have all your bricks of wondrous American freedom, as they call, but really just chaining you down to the land of the free, without actually stepping out and being free in the world.
A lot of that.
I was interested.
Ignorance.
The thing that amazed me, I didn't understand that America was, and I'm not being facetious now for a change, but I didn't understand how America was at the center of the world. But when I was 14, my father, because I was always, wanted to know everything about everything, and drove everybody crazy. So he made a brilliant move. He gave me a subscription to the National Geographic, which I was, waited like a dog waiting for the paper to come through the door every month.
For the naked women.
Yeah. And what would happen is that there would be a map in, 9 out of 10 times. And I'd open this map up, and then somebody said to me, look at the map. It's different to the maps you're looking at in the UK. And I said, oh, is it? He said, yeah, because America is always in the middle of the map.
Mhm.
So if you had a map of the world, America would be right in the middle.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, I was amazed by that.
Well, hang on, Dave, I've got to show you something. Oh, hang on. Let me just pop this here. Don't break the place. Hang on.
It's going to show me a South African map now.
No, I'm going to show you a world map, and this is on my desk, and
This could go either way, guys.
there we go. And these are the maps that I grew up with. That's the map I grew up with, like that.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's a good map.
Yeah.
But look what's in the center of the world, Europe and Africa. Look at that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
US
exactly.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the map I was with.
I was amazed. I was amazed when I first started getting these world maps, because it'd have something on one side and it'd have a world map on the other. And then somebody said that to me, and I thought, oh yeah, now I kind of get it a bit. So America is the center of the world.
I just want to. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I want to just clear something up. I'm not, because this might go in the wrong direction. This is not a bashing. I'm not bashing America at all. I kind of understand why. I mean, I lived there, and in the countries that I've lived in, for example, the television service that you would subscribe to would give you a range of channels. It would just automatic. If you, for instance, if you subscribe to satellite television here, you get a range of news channels, not one or local. But when I moved to the States and I got cable, what I found interesting is that unless you spent a bit more or specified, certainly the cable package I had, the news programs you got were all local. There might have been BBC America if you were lucky, but there was nothing from the rest of the world. We have got by default here, we've got CNN, we've got Al Jazeera. We used to have RT before they invaded Russia. Ukraine. We used to have we got Bloomberg, Euronews, Sky, and I think we might have MSNBC, and there might even be like a Fox derivative. So we've got all of those. So you've got a pick of news channels. But when I lived in Connecticut, I literally got the local news channel, and I think probably MSNBC, CNN, and Fox. That was it. There was nothing out of the country. There was no foreign perspective. There was no other language. And even when I lived in the UK, same. There was a range of channels you kind of just got by default. Whereas in the US, I just found, and I understand why, people probably, it's a market thing. People they're not interested. They've got everything they need. The country is well run. I'm not bashing. It's a very well run country. I think it's a great country. We've, New York, yay, woo. But it's almost like it's a victim of its own success. It's got everything there. Everything is there. You can buy anything, do anything, whatever it is. And it almost blinds you to what the rest of the world is about. Mm-hmm. And with that comes an ignorance. You don't really need to know. I mean, you can live in the US and you don't actually need to know about France, about Russia, about Australia, about South Africa. You don't really need to know because there's nothing you get from them. So you don't care. But when you live in those countries, like in South Africa, for example, we get a lot of stuff coming in from around the world. Europe, maybe not as much, but they still seem to have a larger global view just by default.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. It's sad that Americans, the ones that travel, certainly go, look at that. There's other food, there's other people, there's other points of view. As Nishana said, there is... oh, wow, I don't have to work all my life. I can enjoy the mountains, enjoy the food. I mean, France, there we go, food, everything. And it's not a cliche. You can learn something from that. You can sit down, you can have a meal, you can enjoy the meal, enjoy company. Life is about people. It's about food. It's not about just making money and, you know what I mean?
I absolutely agree. But this is why I believe that there is a lack of culture in this country, because this is a country that is, like you said, functional. It functions very well. But in function, you don't have all the subtleties of the senses and the emotions and everything that makes us human. Everything that is organized is just, like a good spreadsheet. But where's the soul? Like in Italian, for example, there's bel far niente. That's a sense in Italian that means the beauty of doing nothing, just sitting there and just enjoying the breeze, thinking of nothing, and let life just tickle you slowly with each second that comes through. That's
Have you
something
seen our,
that here
have you
is
seen our Congress?
time.
Have you seen our Congress and our Senate? They apparently take that Italian slogan just a little too far. So does the vice president, and so does everyone else. So I agree.
My name is Mitch McConnell, and I understand doing nothing. I like to do nothing.
He's done nothing for 50 years. So God bless him. I want a job like that. But
this whole inward-looking thing. What amazed me was when I moved to Holland. A friend of mine. We went back. Well, this was 30 or 35 years ago. And that was another English guy, and he'd lived here for a while. He said, I've got to go back. My mum's giving me a TV. So he said, because we didn't have a TV over here. So he went back to the UK, householding stuff, brought the TV back, plugged it in, got the visuals, but no sound. Because unbeknown to us, it's blocked. And vice versa. So the stuff can't come into Europe without it going through the UK and the other way around. So now, I mean, in Holland, but we have all the BBC, the whole shebang. But just living on that island as well was another way of making sure that you don't know too much about the rest of the world. And we go back to my favourite hobby horse, Brexit. I think that kind of proved the point that they have no idea about what's going on anywhere else.
I think the other reason that people everywhere are ignorant. Not just Americans. We're the most ignorant. I mean, everybody thinks we're the most whatever. We're with freedom, and I think when you grow up outside of America, everybody, especially in some of the third world and second world countries, are like, you want to strive to go to America. It's the land of freedom. And I think 200 years ago, 100 years ago, that was very true. Now you can become a billionaire anywhere. You can start up anywhere. I mean, because even in China, as much as China represses its people, they have, I think, the most billionaires and millionaires on the planet. I mean, I don't know now because Zhao's got his third term going on, what's going to happen. But in India now, they did that. Now India is making it harder. So it's funny. They let everybody have their freedom and then they pull it back. We keep saying, no, do and do and do. So we don't outwardly take your freedom away. What we do is we just put laws in place quietly, like, oh, no, you can't do that anymore. We tax you a different way. But still people say, oh, you got to come to America. So when you live in kids today don't read anyway. They don't know anything. They don't have a civics class. So all they know is what they get taught, like America's great or their city or state is great. But I mean, like if you talk to a kid today who goes to school, and I'm not talking like an advanced school, a normal kid, and go, on a map, and Jay Leno used to do this on his show, right? He'd say, here's a map of the world, point to this country, and he'd make up countries. They don't even know where these countries are. They don't even know where the cities are. And it's embarrassing. Like, at least I can find countries on a map. Like, I can do that part. I may not know some of the cities because they're like some small little village or town, but I mean, I can get around like the 206 UN chartered countries. I can find them. Most people can't tell you anything. They barely know Canada is north. So
Look,
is it north then? I didn't know that.
Oh, congratulations! There you go.
The things that they watch here. For the first year I moved here, I watched the first day that I watched TV. I watched TV, and then after 5 minutes of a movie, there's an ad. I'm like, all right, weird. And then the movie starts again, and then 5 minutes later, there's another ad. I went to my dad, asked him, I told him, like, there's a problem with the TV, and like she's seizing with ads, and they're completely stupid on top of that. Ads in France used to be so beautiful. I mean, maybe, I have bias because I grew up with David Ogilvy from, the father of advertisement. So I do have a good sense of what's good advertising and bad. But I used to always have a VHS to be able to record all the beauties. Here, you have good advertisement once a year for that. For what? That
Super Bowl.
Mega Bowl, Super Bowl.
Super Bowl, yeah.
And the rest
Mega
of
Bowl.
the year.
The Mega Bowl.
But for the rest of the year, you have this stupid stuff nonstop. And like, so people are, when you feed people, we're creatures of habit. The more stupidity you feed to people, the more stupid they become. The same with TikTok. You know, the TikTok in China has all those things that teach you skills and inspiration, all of that. Our TikTok, most of it is completely stupid. Of who's gonna fart the farthest with like a whatever it is, or the epic fails and falls, and
Right.
to find values in this country, or even movies the same, to find something inspirational and of value and that brings your soul and brings you up, it's very hard to find.
I have to say this, and I find myself defending people there again. I mean, I lived there for 3 years, and I used to go to a lot of tailgating things and barbecues, and I met ordinary Americans, and the people I met. This was Connecticut, and it was a fairly well-to-do area. They were pretty switched on. So I just want to hasten, and I'm not generalizing all Americans, but there seem to be a lot, the ones that make the loudest noise. There are some very smart people there that I met. The one guy had traveled to South Africa like Stephen, and he knew a lot, and so did his kids, and I think his wife was Canadian, and so and I think his daughter was a flight attendant. So travel was kind of built into their family, and there are quite a few people like that. And I just think that the people like that you will find may have a point of view, but they seem to be more accepting of other points of view or willing to chat. Because the ones that haven't traveled, the ones that are stuck in a box and an echo chamber and watch these shows and whatever, they don't seem to be too tolerant of anything else. And that was the thing that concerned me. But I'm saying the thing about America is it's a nation of immigrants, apart from, well, in fact, just about everybody's an immigrant except for Native Americans, who, by the way, they really should stop calling Indian. They're not Indians. I'm just putting it out there. Really, wow, the Indians are in India. Okay. But apart from that, just about everybody is from some other part of the world. And they're not, I'm not saying they're not, there's a wide variety of people. New York, you mentioned. I mean, New York, in my view, it almost doesn't even represent America. It's like a fast pace. It's like Europe. It almost feels like Europe to some extent, that the people have got. I went into a Starbucks on Broadway once, and the guy, he didn't even look at me, he heard me speaking. Now, I was kind of raised in the UK, but largely here in South Africa. So I've got all these influences in my accent, and I'm a voice guy, so I tend to pick things up. So I will say aluminum. But there I was, and I was ordering my venti vanilla latte. He didn't even turn around. And he said, "Hey, man, have you spent some time in Cape Town?" I mean, wow, he could hear it. He was very musical. So you do get amazing people there. So I just want to be clear. This is not I'm not bashing Americans, but because there's so many of them. It's almost like there isn't such a thing as an American. There's so many different Americans. So
half a continent. America is half a continent. I mean, and that's the only thing. I mean, I love our fellow Americans, and this is such a wonderful country. But it's true that, like, on half a continent, that people, like, it's hard. Like, the people that don't travel, I find, and especially all of us are immigrants, but the people with closed minds who are trying to kick us immigrants out, I mean, they came from immigrants. So, like, I don't even know the logic there. How can we, and we can't explain them anything. I remember there was an article in the New York Times a few years ago, and the scientists called that new disease of America a name. I forgot what it was, but it's the way that your brain is wired, that if you tell them 1 + 1 = 2 in political whatever views, they'll say no. And they completely firmly believe it, and they don't even want to explain why it's not true. But that's it. There's no discussion. They believe whatever the heck they believe, and those are the people that could get dangerous. because there's no way to discuss reason with them.
To be
So
radicalized.
no, not even
Yeah.
no, it's not medicalized. Those are just people with strong beliefs that have no logic. They created a word for them.
Oh,
Ignorant.
Congress. Okay, we're still talking about Congress. Got it. Okay. Oh wow, it's a political show.
I wanted to pick up on the intelligence part of what we're discussing today, and as far as I know, I think a lot of this work was done by Americans, and I decided I'd ask some Americans something that I could add to a topical, funny show, and this is what it came back with.
A horse-sized duck. Oh, a horse-sized duck.
Oh, he did this with Chat GBT.
This is Chat GTP. Yeah.
GPT, GTP. It's a GTP
Yeah.
now. Well,
Yeah.
I would fight one horse-sized dog because I have a lot of equestrian experience in my day and age. So, and I'm a quack myself, so I think I could do well with it.
Okay. Rolled? What are you going for?
I was tending to that, and then I thought, hang on, if I get myself a nice big baseball bat, I could sort out the 100 duck-sized horses. I think maybe I don't know.
Where's love, compassion, and understanding? Where's love, compassion, and understanding? Why you fight with a bat? You see,
I didn't ask the Chat GPT for compassion. I literally asked it for a something that I could discuss on a entertainment program, and this is literally that's all I put in, and this is the first thing that came.
About it, I must say.
This is the first thing it came back with.
I'd rather not fight them.
Yeah.
Here we go. This is number 2. There's only 3 topics today.
Wow.
I know.
Oh, mine isn't a color. Anyway, so
no, Stephen, there's cheating. It asked you a specific question.
Okay, who's going to answer first?
Well, pick my color.
Yes. Red. You know why? Because red, the color of love, the color of blood, the color of watermelon. It's all the good stuff. If you take out the watermelon,
and creepy clowns by the sound of it. But
I'm not creepy. I'm happy.
So we've got one red. Rolls, are you chipping in on this one?
And roses.
Okay, just to be different, I'd say green because, well, you know. At least I know that I'm not going to die from eating it. Mostly. That's about it.
Well, see, I like the color purple, and I'm trying to think of purple foods. But
you can have eggplants. You can also have some sort of Chinese cabbage, which is that color. Sprouts originally are that color.
Purple or green. I'd have to look at the list of foods that I can live with for the rest of my life. So.
Yeah.
Just
okay.
not brown. Definitely not brown.
No, not brown. Yeah, no.
No. So no brown food for anybody on this one.
No, I don't think so.
No fried rice.
And this was the third thing that came back, and the third and final thing. Maybe next time when we go on the show, I'll ask it again for some 3 topical, funny questions to ask on an entertainment show. So this is the sort of technology that's going to take us to Mars. Of course, we know that. Here we go. This is number. This is number 3.
Oh, da, 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 da,
oh God, I got that one.
Da, 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 da. So yesterday when I came, my trumpet player was already at the Nushnook, and she played that song when I arrived. That was fantastic. I felt like R2D2.
Nice.
What would I? I mean, there's so many, but what is it? It's the final countdown. I don't know.
Is that a good thing to play for a DJ? Because that kind of makes you redundant after that.
Exactly. So silly.
I would go with AC/DC's either Highway to Hell or Back in Black.
Wow.
Because when you walk into the room with Back in Black, that's
Whoa.
like that beginning riff.
Oh,
That's
another one.
nice. Yeah.
I want to revise mine.
Okay.
My one would be Still Dre.
Oh, hold up.
Nice.
Dre.
Wait.
Wow.
Wow.
If you live in Key West or San Francisco, you could do Annie's. The sun's going to come out tomorrow, or sun's going to come up tomorrow.
Hang on.
How about you, gentlemen? David, Steven. No, David, Steven, you did it. David, you didn't tell us first of all the color you want to eat. What is this? You're cheating. What do you want to eat?
I'm not cheating. I'm not cheating.
You floof what?
Yeah.
Still waters run deep. Still Snoop Dogg and D.I.
There you go.
Guess who's back?
That's my song right there.
All right. Remember, we can only play 30 seconds of it, or then they'll we'll have a copyright infringement on YouTube.
It's funny. Yeah, I played that song the other morning. I couldn't really get out of bed, and I put my headphones in my ears, and I was like, I think Dre is gonna help, and I did. I just bounced out my bed like this. Whoop whoop whoop.
Now, when you say when you bounced out of bed like this, were you dressed and looked exactly like this?
Oh my goodness, Steven! I wish all of this doesn't taste so strongly on my face.
I knowing the small town she lives in, if I lived close enough right now, I would drive there and walk down the street with her just for people to look. But then again, it's her.
Oh my goodness, I cannot wait to have lunch at the diner today.
Are you going to just stay this way all day?
Of course, and I have
Of
my
course.
because we have a snowstorm. I might even take my bear with me.
Okay, so it's a clown. Let me just recap. So it's a clown costume, snow boots, and you're going to take Barrick the bear with you, or has he got another name?
The bear. Hello, the bear.
Hello.
Where is Barrick today?
Well, he's just chilling with my penguin, but you know.
Okay, as they do, of course. Yeah. So anyway, just I'd like to thank all those millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars and extremely clever people for enabling me to use the technology, the artificial intelligence technology, to ask it 3 questions we could use on a topical entertainment show.
Cool. You know, like I did.
And that's it, guys. I mean, you know,
I have a question for everybody, and I don't know if anybody's following this. I am, so this may be a very good question.
We're not following it, Stephen.
This is about that bank.
Yep, Silicon Valley Bank. It's the 16th largest bank in America, and the government said when it first did its crash, part of it's because of the bonds, part of it's because of the interest rates, part of it's because of FTX. It's like, the perfect storm because we didn't learn from 2008. Now the government last night was like, we are going to bail it out. So not just, the deposit, because there's hedge funds that have billions of dollars with these guys. And it was interesting because I'm like, because in the beginning, like Friday, Saturday, they weren't going to bail it out. Now they're going to bail it out. And I'm like, this is interesting. So what it shows you in America, kind of like what happened with Chrysler when the government bailed Chrysler out back in the 80s, right? If you're big enough or enough people with power have money with you, we bail you out.
That's
and
crazy.
then their logic was, because if they don't bail it out, we'll go into like a depression, right? Because hedge funds won't be able to pay people. This won't happen. And I'm thinking, so I can open a bank, get in the top 20, do all the risky stuff that you're not supposed to do, and you'll bail me out. Like, there's no logic here.
There's
So
no
I'm glad they're bailing me out.
and all the poor people that have been, like taking tax left and right, they're drowning and losing their homes. There you see yet another bank who's fucking up yet another time, pardon my French. And here, let's bring money for them. Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, the interesting thing
I never heard a clown swear before. It's kind of cool.
But in the UK, they didn't bail it out; they sold it.
Yeah, to HSBC.
Yeah, for a pound.
Before they did that, they were going to bail it out because the United Kingdom was saying, "What are we going to do with all our startups? We don't know what to do with all this money. Oh my God, no one's going to fund it." So they sold it to HSBC in America. JP Morgan was mentioned,
So
and there was 3 other banks that were supposed to
But I
possibly buy it.
thought we were all supposed to be really, not doing anything with the Chinese and not getting involved with them and letting them have more of an influence in new tech. And what we are selling the portfolio of startups to the Hong Kong Shanghai Bank.
Really?
Yeah, the British government, by the sound of it.
Oh, we're getting very close with the Chinese down here. Wow.
Oh yeah, you
Yeah,
guys are
I mean-
having. Didn't you guys? You guys had a big thing a couple weeks ago.
You need to have a new road built, so get the Chinese in, build a road or a harbour or an airport you're not going to use.
It's called economic colonization.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look it up. It's a thing. Yeah.
I'll tell you the other thing that the Chinese are doing. They use economic war, and they did it with Australia because what they did when they would buy a lot of wine from Australia, and then the Australians decided they were going to do something with America, and the Chinese are like, we're not going to buy any more wine from you. So the Australians had to make a decision. It's like what China's doing is very clever. We're going to ingratiate ourselves into every aspect of what we can, whether it's in trade or whatever it might be. And if you do something we don't like, I think Liechtenstein was the other country that did something they didn't like, so they pulled everything out. Then it's basically the economic sanction. But because you're so used to getting billions of dollars from them in product, services, or trade, it's like, oh, what do we do? So Australia found out the hard way with wine. I think South Africa is going to find out.
You don't have to worry about China anymore because the Australians, the Brits, and the Americans are going to build lots of submarines. They signed that deal off yesterday, and according to what I heard this morning on the BBC, not that I'm saying that the BBC was right or not right, but there was some politician on there, some gentleman from the Conservative Party who said, Chinese problem solved. We're going to be building, along with Australia, of course, who knows everything about submarines, and the Americans, and that will scare the Chinese going forwards or going under. So, sleep tonight, lots of snooze, nothing to worry about. Submarines are coming, guys. Watch out.
Is it okay to tell like a Polish joke? Because when I was a kid, those were really popular. So I'm going to tell it. So everybody, if all the woke people out there are offended easily, don't listen.
Is that politically correct to tell the joke?
Have you met me? Have you met me? I don't care.
Anyway.
Yeah, there you go. So the Polish Navy just bought a whole bunch of submarines to look at the old Polish Navy because they were using screen doors. So. I heard that joke when I was 6. I love it.
Okay. Wow.
There you go.
There you go.
So, did you hear the joke about the man who his wife died suddenly, and they took her to church, and just they were getting the coffin out and trying to take the coffin into the church. They banged the coffin as an accident against the wall, and within about 2 or 3 minutes later, they could hear banging on the coffin, and they opened it up, and the wife was still alive.
Bummer.
But she'd been sick for quite a while, so within a month or so, she died again. So again, they took her to the church, and it was a bit of a higgledy-piggledy church. So they got the coffin out of the back of the hearse. They were trying to get it through. Again, they banged it on the wall, and within half an hour or so, they could hear banging on the coffin. Opened it up, woman's alive again.
Right.
But she'd been sort of almost terminally sick, so within 2 or 3 weeks, she died again. So they took her. So back they go again. They get the coffin out of the back of the car. They're trying to get it halfway down the hallway into the church. And the husband says, I don't care what you do, but don't bang it against the wall.
Did you hear about the whatchamacallit? Did you hear about the prostitute that died? No, she was at her funeral. 2 of her friends were in the front pew, and they said, finally, they're together. And her other friend says, what? She goes, her feet. Anyway, so...
I miss all of this. My brain is not wired for any of this.
So, but
I'm not sure
see,
much. Yeah.
Mr. Woods wants to talk about the car companies at Obama.
No, you just mentioned all the things that have been bailed out,
Right.
and it just made me think of, I think it was around 2008-ish somewhere when Detroit basically got bailed out, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Well, lots of
I know.
Oh, really? Was it that?
But Iacocca got bailed out by Reagan back in the 80s, and then I guess Obama bailed them out in 08 when we had
all the
Great Recession.
right?
Yeah, everybody got in the banks. Right, in 08. They all got bailed out back then, 08, 09.
Wow. And they arrived in the jets and asked for money.
Yeah. Well, you know, when you're gonna ask for billions and billions and billions of dollars, why would you fly commercial? You can take your private jet because you're poor and you do that. So, like I said, when we talk about America and why, so if you're looking from another country, you're looking at us like you guys are the greatest guys in the world. Look at the shit you get away with all day long. And if you're and think about it, there are people here get away with tons of stuff, the corporate executives and whatnot. And then every other country has all this oversight. If somebody steps out of bounds, it's a whole thing.
Out of it because you're the biggest bullies on the planet, and you're like, oh, this is how you win, and you get everybody's milk money, and then you print more. Crazy people.
I will say we've got lots of oversight, but no one in jail. There should be hordes of people in jail, and everyone is. That's a whole nother topic. I'm not going to get started there. We've got an election coming up next year. We've got tons of corrupt politicians, a country that's breaking, and an electorate that probably will vote for them again. It's mind-blowing.
Like us.
Well, maybe you should get the Chinese to build a jail for you, because they're pretty good at that as well. So
I was just thinking of dumping them in the ocean, to be honest.
You had a guy that got poisoned. There's a whole article in the FT about your power guy. He got poisoned with like radiation.
Yeah, well, you're talking about the guy that headed up the electricity supply. Yes. Well, the interesting thing is he's about my age. He's got a street.
That was a shock to him then.
What?
So that was a bit of a shock to him then.
What? Dear God. He really was doing some good things, but unfortunately, and there's no other way to put it, he is the wrong color, and they didn't want him telling them what to do. And that's really what it was about. We have a bunch of very childish politicians who are very happy with the graft. You know what I mean by the graft? They all get paid. They call it eating at the trough, stealing all this taxpayer money, stuffing their nests and living off the people. And the crazy thing, you sometimes realize that what happened in South Africa is we got all these fat white politicians. We got rid of them with apartheid, and we just basically got people doing exactly the same thing. The only difference now is that instead of it being called apartheid, it's just called corruption. But it's the same thing. You've got all these millions of people who are being excluded, who get nothing, and a small group of people who are stealing all the money, stuffing it away. I mean, this is but no one cares anymore, because back in the 80s and so forth, everybody would protest against apartheid and, South Africa, you're bad. And it was bad. It was horrible. And then once we got rid of that, all that happened is we got people with more melanin in their skin doing precisely the same thing, but no one cares because it's okay. It's weird. It's even worse what they're doing now. And what they've done to their people, what they're doing to their people is extraordinary. Anyway,
welcome to the, as my friends would say, the late great planet Earth. And it's just, it really is the continental divide, right? If you can get away with it, you get away with it. If you can't, you can't. There's no more, in my opinion, morality. There's no old school or old world.
Where did it go? My goodness.
Because people like, for old school, like David and I, and possibly Mr. Woods here, we're dying. And you're a woman. But I'm talking about the men for a second. And you, yes, because you're old world, but yes. But that's a dying breed. Gentlemen, chivalry, and whatnot. Women being women being, if you will, ladies. That's a dying breed. Gentlemen being gentlemen. Yes, sir. Oh, hi. How you doing? So,
brought something up, Stephen. I saw a very interesting article on one of the channels, probably Fox or CNN, or one of them. And apparently the word "ma'am" is offending people in America, which I find extraordinary.
I say ma'am all the time.
Apparently there's a whole sort of younger group of women that are not happy being called ma'am.
I got
What's
a word
wrong
we
with
can.
man?
I got
What's
a
wrong-
word we can. I got a word we can call them that. I
but
don't think they're going to like that one either. And it begins with a C.
Stop yourself, hold your
what-
horses.
so-
You know that they erased Mademoiselle from Friends too. There's no more Mademoiselle.
Really?
no, it's the
In
same in
Friends, even
Dutch.
Yes, that came up. That came up in the article as well. There's no mademoiselle. Yes, exactly. It's
Because I say
ma'am.
yes, ma'am. I
It's
say
the
yes,
same-
ma'am,
it's
and no,
the same in
ma'am all the
Dutch.
time.
You're not allowed to say, you're not allowed to address anybody as a Ms. So it's not a Miss or a Mrs. It's a Ms.
So you know what they're suggesting,
Yeah.
which is quite ironic, and Nushana will understand why this is strange. Is they're saying maybe we should go back to my lady, which is exactly what Madame is.
Right.
This is
Could
great.
you imagine going to a restaurant and when a server says something to me, I go, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. That'd be because I don't know who's being polite. But could you say, my lady, I would like, are you kidding me? Like I said, for all these little woke 14-year-olds, and I don't care if they're 14, I got something. I got a word.
But it's interesting, Rod, but why? Why?
They say it makes they feel old, and it's like they say with men, sir. You know, sir is everyone, but women go from miss to madam or ma'am. And apparently now the one woman said, "I'm 30 years old. My mother's ma'am. Don't call me ma'am."
Okay.
Because
So
apparently
what do you think?
I just think that's
It's a sign
polite. I mean, up until I was
Yeah.
14, any letter that came through the post
they
addressed to
said
me would be master.
Yes,
They
I
said-
remember that.
Yes.
basically in America you've got the Mason-Dixon line. If you use it south of that, you're okay. If you use it north of that, it's a problem. Apparently.
So this is-
Like I
so
said,
this
I've
is-
got two
so-
words for these girls. One begins with a B, one begins with a C. So if you don't want those two words, like yes, you know what, or yes, you know what, it's going to be yes and no, ma'am. And this is what I'm talking about. Old school gentlemen and ladies are dying breed because this new little we're woke should literally be taken out back. Like their trigger words, like we talked about last week, they should be taken out back behind the barn and shot like a horse. And let's bring back civil people with IQ points. And I'm talking at least double and triple, so we can go from A to Z.
Steven,
The question is, I can tell you what they want to be called. I actually know what they want to be called. I've just remembered now.
Yeah.
Apparently, you are just somehow psychically supposed to know what their name is. You've got to call them like Joanne or Mary. You've just got to know their name, but don't call them ma'am. But my question is, if you don't know what their name is, what do you go? Hey, the one guy said, don't call me sir. This is also the guys now.
Yeah.
This applies to the men as well. They don't want to be called sir either, apparently, some of the younger guys, because that's their father. Call them bro or dude.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, not happening.
I have occasionally. My son has he occasionally was old dude or bro. I said, "No, sorry,
Someone dude. Bullshit.
I'm your dad. I'm not your dude. I'm the, it's great if you want to use it with your friends or whatever." But I said, it's funny because we've interviewed quite a few people, in the Two Old Farts, and it's really been. I found it quite charming because people have, when they've been on, they've been saying like, "Yeah, it's okay, sir," or I hear the word "ma'am" said, and I find that soothing, comforting. It out of an element of respect, and I just think, well,
that's the problem. There's no more respect. Respect and politeness is not taught anymore. It's been like it's annoyed. You see?
Yeah, but the thing is, Nush,
why ask me to ask for please or like just leave me alone or whatever? Like there's such like I want to just like slap
the first time I was in America and I went to a conference in Las Vegas, and I'm standing in a hotel and some people coming along. I opened the door for these people, and they kind of all looked at me as if it was weird. And somebody said something, and I said, "Sorry." I said, "Well, it's okay. So it's my pleasure." And they said, "Oh, it's okay. He's a Brit."
Oh my God!
As if the fact that I was holding the door open for them was weird enough, but it was all right to be that weird because I was a Brit.
No, but the thing is, like,
Really?
politeness and respect is one, but niceness too. I met this wonderful person who has a winery here, and we met over the river 2 years ago, and there were a big group of people. I just moved up here, and I just like went there, said hi, like we chat a little bit. I took their number to meet again for tea. Anyway, it never happened again. I met their son, and a year later, I ended up at their winery. And when I met them, I was like, "Oh my goodness, we met about a year ago." And then after a few drinks, he comes to me, he's like, "Noosh, when I met you this day and we exchanged numbers and then you texted, we were all thinking like, what is she up to? What is she saying? Like, what does she want?" Like,
Yep.
and everybody in this country thinks like, what am I up to? I'm too nice. There's no way. Why is she so nice? Or too polite, or too this.
Right.
Oh, crazy.
You can't whatchamacallit. What I've learned is you can't. Back in the day when you were young, when we were all younger, it'd be like, hey, let's go do something, or like no one had an angle. So when I say to somebody, let's go do something, they look at me and I'm like, I'm saying to them, we're just going to go do. Like, that's why, and I say this all the time, and I know people probably but when I have a cigar with a bunch of guys and I go to a cigar shop or a chemist, if you will, and we all sit in a big leather chair and we light up a cigar, nobody wants anything other than to smoke a cigar. And I like that because we're all there for the same reason. It's this little brotherhood, and nobody cares if you have a $2 stick or a $300 stick. You're all lighting a cigar together, and you're talking about whatever BS comes up or whatever's on TV. Or sometimes you just sit there and it's quiet. It's nice. And I think as a country, maybe as a planet, we're losing that. Everybody thinks everybody's out for something, and they're not. And in the old world, it's okay to be nice. And I like being an old school guy. I like being nice. I like getting the door for women. I don't mind getting their chair, standing up when they enter and leave the room. I do this to my wife. And the other day I held a door for a lady and she looked at me, and you know how they don't think you're going to keep it. So she almost puts her hand out like she's going to touch it. And I go, I said to her literally, do you see me standing? She looked at me and go, I'm standing against the door. It's not going to close on you. You don't have to touch it. And she goes, I go, old school. And she smiled and just like went in, and she's like, okay. It's like that. I walked in behind her, but it was sort of like a shock. Like, is he going to just dash? And I'm thinking, who does that? And this is the problem. People aren't used to old school anymore because we've got a society of a bunch of hooligans. There you go. And I don't just mean in America. I think it's globally.
Yes. That's what I say. Do be, do be, do. It's my motto. By just do and be and do and be and do be, do be, do.
And dress like a clown. Sure.
I sent you guys a link to what that article was about with the man. But basically, just for anyone who's not sort of listening, the reason why apparently women are some women, not all women, some. Apparently women are outraged by the word man because apparently it's like society has decided that your youth is behind you.
Oh my God. It is.
That's crazy.
No, I don't think society chooses that your youth is behind you. I think it's your birthdays that choose that your youth is behind you.
No, but you see, I wonder who's asking this generation, because like the 30-year-old, like my branch, like 30, 45 years old, like they're the ones in this country that have no sense of effort or responsibility, at least in the crowd that I grew up in, and they don't want to be a man. They want to be still dancing at Burning Man when they're 50. Don't call me ma'am. I still party. Whatever. I mean,
but what I don't understand, I was always brought up to my mother used to say to me, treat people how you'd like to be treated yourself.
Yes.
So I have to ask myself, how do these people want to be treated then?
Well, they don't have mothers, obviously.
Oh, I want to be a man.
Yeah. Well, they might have the other bit that goes with that word, but there you go.
There you go. Now, I think, like I said, unfortunately, it's the decay of society, and hopefully,
somehow everything became offensive. We're supposed to be the country with most freedom and most everything, and now we can't even take a joke. What happened? A joke. The whole point of jokes, they existed because of terrible situation, and you need to have a skill.
Did you guys see? I'm sure you did. Did you watch the Chris? Speaking of Chris Rock, did you watch his response? Did you watch his show?
I haven't seen his Netflix special yet. No, but he's Jewish.
Have any of you seen it? Have any of you seen it?
Is the response to the slap?
Well, he's got a new show out. It's called Selective Outrage. He's got a brand new show on Netflix called Selective Outrage. I think it's Selective Outrage. And he deals with all this crap, all this offense that people have. He deals with the Markles. He deals with Harry and Meg. He deals with, obviously, Will Smith. He talks about Jada Pinkett Smith, and he goes on and on and on. And it's like the thing when Meghan Markle said there were people in the royal family who were concerned how brown the baby would be. So Chris Rock says, what do you mean? Black people? Are we also concerned about how brown the baby's going to be? This is not a white thing. So he was saying, maybe it's just a bit of interest in you. It's not necessarily a racism thing. He tackles all of that. It's quite something.
Cool. Watch it.
You got to catch it.
Now that we've called him out and said he's Jewish, I guess he's a linesman. I have to support him. I'm going to go watch his Netflix special later today.
It's almost not funny. It's almost not funny. There's a lot of serious moments, but it's.
I did read an article, though, in the Financial Times that said, if I'm not mistaken, that they did make him cut some of the Will Smith stuff out about the slap and whatnot. I don't know if he talks about the slap in it, but I know that they said that he had some of the jokes regarding it he had to pull out. So
now I want to hear them. I want to hear those jokes.
I do too. And you know what? If he comes to Austin and he's going to play at the big center they have here, which sits like 10 million people, I will be there in a minute because I want to hear him what he really thought of the Will Smith thing. That also is a thing that's kind of irritating, and we're not going to go into it here. But if anybody else slaps somebody like that, they're going to jail, and you also know that they would have kicked him out. But he didn't leave, and they didn't know what to do. And I'm thinking to myself, because he's going to win the Academy. Who cares? Like the Academy, if you win an award, it's because you did something great. And if you're not going to be a role model, then you don't get the award. Give it to someone else. Like I guess the other night, the movie, the Everything Everywhere, which I saw, which I actually enjoyed, won like a ton of stuff. I thought that was
at the same time.
Great, won a bunch of stuff. Brandon Fraser, who I think I just like his personality, won an award. And I was like, cool, because you just seem like a nice guy. But I was like very happy for these movies that won. But I don't care that you're Asian or you're like this. I'm just happy you won because you have a nice persona.
Thank you for bringing that up because I switched on my phone and there was a thing about CNN and so Michelle is the first Asian. I thought, what is this crap? I understand. We discussed this on the racism show, and I get it. Damn, I never thought of her as this Asian actress. What is this crap? She's fantastic in the movie, and that's it. That is all it is. It's the most unbelievably different movie, and I'm glad it won. If it hadn't won, so what? But I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. My wife hated it. She didn't like it.
Really?
We watched the movie together, and I sat there and I looked at her and I went, wow, what have I just watched? That was, huh? And she went, yeah.
My wife did the same thing. I've watched it once at the movie theater because I wanted to see it on big screen. I've watched it 3 or 4 times on Showtime.
Yeah.
When we left the theater, I go, that was awesome. She goes, it was okay. I'm like, really? I was like, it was great. It was this. She goes, it was okay. I was just happy to see the little kid from Indiana Jones as a grown up and who also won an Academy Award. I was happy to see that make a full circle.
And Jamie Lee Curtis. That was something. Wow.
I had a crush on her 100 years ago, and I still think she's a wonderful person.
Do you know what's awesome and fantastic? That's
Me?
all you guys. Yeah. And
ending the show. Thank you, everybody. Hey, don't forget to subscribe and like. Put your comments below. Even if they're not nice, we like not nice comments.
Thank you so much for listening to this Old Woods Rob Vega, whatever the hell he wants to call himself, fellow. This podcast thing, it makes him feel very important, and he's a difficult fellow as it is to deal with. So thank you so much for putting up with him, and do take care.
Oh, God help us.